So back in 1995, Eazy died. I was 19 years old. I hacked Ruthless Records answering machine. I embezzled a lot of money from Eazy's company, the rapper, and I did a lot of business. I took over the company, Ruthless Records. I talked with a lot of big celebrities like KENDRICK, LAMMAR, but when he was a kid, he was 8 years old, and here is my story. Check it out. There's a movie coming out and everything.
Up in Ottawa, a teenager quietly took over Ruthless Records. All he had to do was pick up the phone, dial in the right code, and Ruthless was his. At least for a little while, until the FBI caught wind of what he had done, along with some of the most powerful names in hip-hop. Our reporter Julian Abraham met up with that teenager, now grown, decades later, and he is ready to tell you what actually happened.
So, we need to roll back the tape for a minute. It's the early 90s. Raphael Gazarian was a teenager. He was a high school student living just outside of Ottawa.
I liked fighting. I was sort of like a scrapper kind of kid. Like my friends would like to steal cars. People would do beanies and stuff everywhere. I never liked that. I like to go to Quebec and call everybody a frog and get into a fight at the bar. We had like a little crew, like a little, we're kids, but we had this like little clique, and it was all misfits and outcasts, and you know what I mean? And so we all kind of like bonded together, and we were kind of unfuckable.
What he meant to say was
untouchable kind of thing. That's our mentality. We're kids. So this is what was going on at that time. This is how we rolled. Back then I dressed different. I liked a lot of button-up shirts, like, button-up tucked in, jeans, belts, Doc Martens type thing. It'd be baggy. I like, hip-hop stuff. I had a starter's leather hat, those like parental advisory hats and 8-ball jackets, that type of stuff, starter jackets.
And I know Raphael was telling you the truth because I'm actually looking at it right here. He handed off a videotape that him and his friends made way back then with a camcorder. It shows them in an arcade. They're dressed exactly like how he said, and they're playfully roasting each other. It's funny, and it's clearly a product of its time. It was around this time when Raphael says his older brother took a trip to Florida and came back with some rap CDs, music that wasn't popular in Raphael's friend group yet.
So my brother came back, this must have been like 90, 91 maybe, came back with Eazy tapes. Never seen these, never heard of them, and we used to drive around and listen to these Eazy tapes, NWA tapes, all freaking day long.
And you can actually hear this in the video.
And it was like the coolest music. Nobody had it. Nobody heard of it. It was early 90s. It was brand new. All you wanted to do was like ride and listen to this music, smoke weed, do what kids were doing at the time.
Okay, so for the rest of the story to make sense, you have to first understand what kind of kid Raphael was, what kind of a child he was. I'm talking way before he was a teenager, before he was hanging out in the arcade making dick jokes, but when he was a literal child. Since he was about 8 or 9 years old, he was already showing signs that he was resourceful, didn't really care about the rules, and he had a special talent for using technology to mess with people, especially phones.
I wasn't your average kid. Like me, when I was 8, 9 years old, I always got off on calling 1-800 numbers, different countries, hacking their machines, playing with these 1-800 numbers. I'd hack all these answering machines and listen to their voicemails and whatnot. It was like second nature to me.
Now, this part here is central to the story. Around this time when Raphael was a child, remember, messing around with phones, he figured out a method to hack voicemail systems from any phone. Here's how it worked.
For hacking phones, especially the old tabletop machines, they went by tone.
Old voicemail systems, they had a passcode that you could enter from any line. Now, it was intended for the owner of that voicemail to be able to check their mailbox when they were away from their phone. But Raphael, being the resourceful kid he was, He figured out he could just call any number that had one of these voicemail systems set up and just smash a bunch of buttons. And sometimes it would actually let you in.
So if you hit 111213141516 real quick, it would trick the machine into thinking the right noise that it needed to hear, button pushed, happens.
So since the machines went by the audio tones of the buttons, you could just mash them all and confuse the machine into thinking that it heard the right password. And technically it did hear the right password, just not in any order that made sense. Raphael exploited this.
So then it gives you access to the answering machine where I end up changing the passcode. I changed the message on the recording message to something goofy or something. I'm 8, 9, 10.
And this wasn't the only way that Raphael figured out how to weaponize phone lines.
There was this one company called Faxback. It was 1-800-FAXBACK. And if you called this number and put in anybody's phone number, it would call you all night, try to send a fax to you of the information from the company. So if I hated you, I would put your number in 15 times into this like Faxback thing and it would keep calling you back. Beep, beep, all night, you know what I mean? I learned how to do all this crap. Just, I don't know, I was bored. It was free, didn't cost anything.
So by now, this kid who you might be thinking you might call a little shit, he would pull all these pranks on his friends and people he didn't like, all using phones in these really resourceful, unintended ways. So now, when I tell you what kind of teenager he turned into, this will probably make sense.
I met this guy named Josh Allen, and we became really good friends. He'd moved here from England. He has a twin brother that lives in England. So he rented an apartment in Ottawa under his brother's ID and the telephone, everything, all the bills, utility.
Raphael says everything to do with the apartment was under Josh's brother's name, who lived in England. There was no tracing it back to Josh, and definitely no tracing it back to Raphael. And this apartment, none of the adults really knew they had this place, and from what I understand, it was like a sanctuary. Imagine the teenage version of like a tree house that nobody except you and your best friends know about. It was a place with no rules. And Raphael said it looked exactly like you might expect.
Bongs, ashtrays, music CDs piled up on the freaking tables, a tube TV. So when he told me the phone was free, I could call anybody I want. The first thing I started doing was calling like the psychic lines.
She even predicted Canada's Prime Minister's election and received a thank you letter from an amazed Madame Chrétien. She's Jojo Savard, world-famous psychic astrologer, and she has helped thousands of people change their lives.
I'm like, yo, I'm a black man. I work in construction. They're like, oh, you're going to get hurt tomorrow. Be careful. And I'm like, busted. I'm never, you know what I mean? Like, I'm never going to breed psychics again because it's bullshit. You should know I'm not a black guy, A, if you're a psychic. B, I don't work construction. Stuff like that.
And then on one fateful night, Raphael was up late.
So I got bored with the psychic crap. And it was like, this point, 3 a.m. Like, everybody, there was a whole bunch of people that were fucking around. Everybody had gone to bed. Like, everybody had left or gone to bed. And I'm the only one up. And I was fucking super stoned.
Like Galileo picking up a telescope, like Mozart sitting down at a piano, Raphael, a prodigy in his own right, picked up the instrument that he knew best, the instrument he had mastered, the landline telephone.
And I start looking at all the piles of CD on the coffee table, all the CDs, like different music groups. And I'm like, fuck yeah, hey, Hootie the Blowfish, Fishbowl Records, and things. I fucking call the number and I hack the answering machine to change the voicemail or change whatever. It gives you all the options in there.
He gained control of the voicemail and changed the greeting message. So every time someone called the number on the back of the Hootie and the Blowfish cracked rear view CD, they heard this.
Hootie's a bitch. Hootie's a fucking loser. Fucking Darius Ruckus is a loser.
Then next in the pile of CDs was a red and black one with Eazy on the cover. Eazy Does It by NWA.
I did this to a few different record labels, including NWA. When I found the Ruthless Records, the Eazy Does It or whatever, again, on the back it says Ruthless Records, 18, I think it was a 1818 number, some shit, like California number. I'm like, wow, cool, California, you know, calling. I hacked the answering machine. I recorded saying, Ruthless Records moved to Canada, reach us at our new number. I gave Buddy's fucking brother's bullshit fucking phone number.
he gave the phone number for the apartment in Ottawa.
So anyway, I hacked the machine and then I changed it to say my buddy's phone number. And guess I went to sleep. I don't know. Or did I leave? I don't remember. It was a long time ago.
The next day, other than being a little sleepy, it was a pretty normal day for Raphael. That was until he got a phone call from Josh.
But I remember him calling me when I got home from school saying, "What the fuck did you do last night? I got a million fucking messages. People are singing and they're, yo, Eazy, fucking rest in peace, blah, 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 blah." So I'm like, what the fuck? I go, I'm coming over. So I went over there, I'm listening to all these messages, and I'm like, wow, some of these singers are amazing. Like, they were phenomenal. So I'm like, how can we make money out of this?
After the break, how they made money out of this. Back at the apartment, Raphael says the phone was ringing off the hook with people who thought they were calling Ruthless Records.
We're sitting there talking, the phone's ringing, I'm answering it. Like, I'm pretending to be a guy named Loke. I'm kind of trying to sound like Tone Loke.
Tone Loke, that was another West Coast rapper who was around at the time.
Like when I talk, just like kind of talking like Tone Loke. So I'd be calling you back. It'd be like, hey, what's up? This is Loke calling you back from Ruthless Records. I noticed you left us a message. You know, and you'd answer, my God, yeah. So, I don't know. I really liked what you sent us. I don't usually stop and listen to too much, but something like that. I don't exactly remember, but it'd be like, wow, that music was great. You know what I mean? What you sent us was great. Do you have anything more like that? And the guy would start telling me, yeah, I got this and that. And then I'd be like, well, what do you think about maybe doing a professional, something in a studio where you could send us, where we can overlook and see, you know, with you and your group, you know, you and your crew or whatever, send us something and we could actually look at it and see where we could go with it. The guy's like, are you serious? Blah, blah, blah. Oh my God, yeah, we could do that. And I'm like, okay, you're gonna need professional photos of your group. I need like the music professionally recorded in the studio. And you're gonna have to send us $500 each. Just so we know you're serious about your craft and whatnot, and you get that money back. And they would get mad. They'd go like, what the fuck do you need $500 for? And I'm like, listen, in this business, there's a lot of drug addicts. If you're serious about your craft, you'd send us the money. It doesn't mean anything to us. We give it back. You just want to make sure you could part with that money. And we're not wasting our time on you. You're some drug addict that's not going to show up to the studio.
Just to be crystal clear, Raphael says they were not giving anybody anything in return, and definitely not refunding their money. And remember, these guys are teenagers. They're in high school. In the daytime, they're going to math class, and in the evening, they're ripping off aspiring rappers from across North America.
Well, we're giving them the address. We're telling them where to send it to once we establish everything with them, talk to them, hype them up.
Raphael said the trick to this was to exploit this fantasy of making it in the music industry. And then the callers who were trying to make it in the rap game, they were more likely to believe them because in a way they were kind of in denial. Like they're getting a call back from Ruthless Records and they didn't want it not to be real.
Like, imagine you're thinking you're about to be a star. Nothing's coming in between that feeling to get ruined. And people would send us their money.
And they mastered this fast. It wasn't long before they were raking in at least $2,000 US every week, sometimes way, way more. And these were teenagers. They weren't putting it away for retirement. They were balling out.
And Friday would come and there'd be like checks in the mail. We go to Money Mart and cash these things, go buy new Jordans. We're at the bars, like new kicks, new clothes, you know, $500, like $2,000, come $3,000. We're kids. This is all like US money orders coming in. You know what I mean? Like it was insane.
And when they opened up the mailbox, it wasn't just money in there.
So yeah, the naked pictures were amazing. Every Friday we'd open up that mailbox. There was pictures of naked girls. There's all kinds of shit. Girls want to be fluff girls and videos, showing pictures. Like, this is before the smartphone, right? So this is like, you got to take a Polaroid and get the picture. I loved even getting trinkets from Tennessee, like the little rabbit foots that said Tennessee on it. People would send us all kinds of shit. It was cool. Just overpowered, like it was unbelievable. He was just a little 18, 19-year-old kid, and all of a sudden I'm the executive of Ruthless.
Raphael and Josh were living it up, teenagers making thousands every week. But in the back of their minds, there was one nagging question.
You know, like, how long is this going to last? I have no idea what's happening. Why haven't they changed the machine back? I have no idea.
It turns out there was a very specific reason that the voicemail hadn't been changed back yet. And I can only think to describe it as a series of uncanny coincidences that tipped in Raphael's favor every single time, despite the odds. Maybe that rabbit's foot from Tennessee did its job. So the biggest reason that the phone hadn't been changed back was this. Right before Raphael was stoned at 3 a.m. and picked up the phone and hacked into the Ruthless Records voicemail, Eazy, the founder of Ruthless Records, had died at age 30.
Rap singer Eazy has lost his battle with AIDS just 10 days after revealing that he had the disease.
This sent the record company into shambles. Because of his death, because of the ambiguity of who was supposed to inherit the company, a huge legal battle ensued. A few people, his family members, mainly his widow Tamika Woods and his former business partner Jerry Heller, they were all battling for control of Ruthless Records. So this was all going to court, and in the meantime, a judge ordered Ruthless Records to pause operations. The physical office building to Ruthless Records in California, the judge ordered its doors to actually be locked. Now, inside the locked building, the phone to Ruthless Records was ringing off the hook. And every time someone got through to voicemail, all they heard was,
Ruthless Records moved to Canada. Reach us at our new number.
and remember, the doors to the building are locked. Nobody can physically go in and change the voicemail message. And even if they could, it's not even clear who would do it. Nobody knows who owns the company right now. Eazy-E's dead. So all of this stuff just so happened to occur right before Raphael picked up the phone on that fateful night and hacked into the record company's voicemail at 3 a.m., stoned on the couch. Raphael didn't know it at the time, but as far as record company voicemail hacking goes, he hit the jackpot. So as lucky as this was for Raphael's purpose of scamming people with the phone, at the end of the day, if he wanted to scam people, he still had to answer the phone. And not all the calls he was getting were pleasant. He was basically the main point of contact for this record company that was in gigantic trouble. And Raphael says people were calling with urgent business matters.
We had Craig Mack calling. We had all these different artists calling us.
Craig Mack, that was a rapper who was around at that time. He did some work for Ruthless. He was calling from his hot tub, basically asking, where the heck is my money?
Yeah, well, he was in a hot tub. Like he was talking about money that was owed to him, and because they're shut down, so they're not paying anybody. There was another guy that played the guitar on a Eazy album. He called and he was like, I haven't got my paycheck, and I'm like, well, you're gonna have to wait.
Raphael says there was a few people they decided not to rip off for what you might call compassionate reasons. One of them ended up succeeding in the music industry way after this. See if you can guess who this is.
Little Kenny, yeah. He called from Compton. He would rap about school, and we never took money off. We never wanted nothing from him, but he did always send us pictures. Those school pictures where you're sitting down and the little stars are behind you, the blue screen and all that. Sent us rap tapes, I'm on the bus, the bullies took my lunch. He would probably call three or four times a day. But we liked Kenny. We never ever asked him for money because I felt bad, kid. He was in Compton. His mom's struggling to, make ends meet type thing and stuff. So it was just like our buddy. But we never ripped him off. Go figure. He's the only one out of them all probably that made it. We never told him a dream, right? He grew up thinking he's got friends at Ruthless. Imagine that feeling.
That person they're talking about is someone who we tried to contact to confirm if this was all true, but unfortunately we did not hear back from their publicist. That person was Kendrick Lamar. So remember, at this point, Raphael thinks he just got super lucky and nobody's changed back the voicemail, for whatever reason. He has no idea this company's in basically a crisis, and that a judge had ordered it to lock its doors while people battle over its ownership. Until one day, Raphael says he got an interesting call.
I get a phone call from out of these phone calls while I'm there from LA Times, and a reporter from LA Times asking me, how am I open? How is Ruthless Records open? And I'm like, well, what do you mean?
This is the first time Raphael learns why he's been so lucky. Why exactly that nobody has changed back the answering machine.
There was a dispute after Eazy died. between Jerry Heller and Tamika Woods over the ownership of the company. Who owns it?
Jerry Heller and Tamika Woods. I'm going to explain who these people are because they're going to be important. Jerry Heller is this super famous record executive. He worked with Otis Redding, The Who, Marvin Gaye, but most importantly for our purposes here, he worked with Eazy-E and Ruthless Records. Tamika Woods, or Tamika Woods Wright, that's Eazy-E's widow. And these two, Jerry Heller and Tamika Woods, they were especially head-to-head.
So the court said, until we figure this out, it's going to get shut down. I have no idea what's happening. If it wasn't for this LA Times reporter, I wouldn't even have known. She's like, well, the judge ordered the whole company shut down, doors barred, until they figure out the rightful owner, because Eazy-E signed over all his record company to Tamika Woods on his deathbed. Basically, what the allegations were from Jerry Heller was she took advantage of him, doped up, because Jerry claimed he would never have signed everything over to her. The LA Times reporter calls and starts telling me all this information. I'm like, yeah, that's right. And they're like, well, who told you to open up in Canada? And I'm like, Tamika Woods.
And by the way, that was not true. Eazy-E's widow, Tamika Woods, did not tell Raphael to open up in Canada. He was just messing with the reporter.
Now I'm like armed with more information.
More information that he could use to wiggle his way out of this conflict, to pit people against each other, and keep using the phone to make money. But at this point, he was starting to understand he was on shaky ground.
I'm scared shitless. I'm like, what is this gonna blow? Like, is there gonna be cops kicking down this door at any moment? You know what I mean? Because it's too good to be true.
Before long, Jerry Heller, this famous record executive, he was calling the apartment phone.
So when you get Jerry Heller calling you, I'm like, wow, this is pretty crazy.
So why was he calling Raphael? Well, for Jerry Heller, it wasn't really about the phone line, strictly speaking. What he did care about was 2 titanium briefcases, rumored to be worth millions and millions of dollars. And we're going to tell you what was inside them after the break.
This episode is brought to you by Aura Digital Frames. This is like the best gift you can give a relative. It's the easiest gift to give. You ship this, it's beautiful. It comes in like a premium gift box. There's a personalized message. They unwrap it. There's a beautiful picture frame inside. That would be a nice gift on its own. But what do you know? It is preloaded with digital pictures and videos of, you, your kids, whatever. They put it on their mantelpiece and you remotely send them unlimited photographs. What a beautiful, heartwarming way to stay connected. This is the best digital picture frame, named #1 by Wirecutter. You can save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.ca. For a limited time, listeners get $35 off of their best-selling Carver matte frame when you use the code CanadaLand. Let me spell this for you. It's auraframes.ca, promo code CanadaLand. You can support our show by mentioning CanadaLand at checkout. Terms and conditions apply.
All right, so this part of the story is where the FBI gets involved. It's a whole thing. The FBI launched an investigation into what was going on with the Ruthless Records voicemail in Canada. And it all started with a rumor about 2 titanium briefcases. Right after Eazy-E's death, 2 titanium briefcases that were in Eazy-E's Mercedes allegedly went missing. Inside them was supposedly a collection of master recordings from NWA and Eazy-E music. And among the tracks that are rumored to be in there, a collaboration between Eazy-E and Guns N' Roses. So Jerry Heller, the record executive with his financial interest in Ruthless Records, he wanted those briefcases. So he called up the FBI. And as somebody making a podcast story about this decades later, I just want to take a moment to personally thank the late Mr. Heller for this call to the FBI, because this call sparked a huge investigation, and because of that, a huge paper trail that we are now blessed with. This paper trail of the FBI investigation is nearly 200 pages long, and the agency has published all of this stuff online. It is a gold mine. And when I started making freedom of information requests to the FBI, they actually published even more. We relied heavily on these FBI files for the story, and if you want to look at them yourself, you can find them in the show notes. So in these FBI files, you can see documentation of the search for the missing briefcases. In that investigation, you can see pretty soon in this, they were pretty sure they knew who had them. Here's a line from the file written by FBI agent Charlie Parsons.
These master recordings are believed to be worth several millions of dollars each. An individual known only as Redacted, currently residing in Canada, and was allegedly in possession of the suitcases and recordings.
That person, the prime suspect in the FBI's search for the briefcases, while we don't have anything in the file other than a redacted name, and of course when we asked the FBI who this was, they wouldn't tell us. But reading between the lines,
That's me. They're talking about me.
and do you want to know why the FBI thought he had the briefcases? Because he told them he did. But he didn't know he was telling the FBI this. He thought he was just telling Jerry Heller when he called. But he was also telling the FBI agent in Heller's office who was listening in on speakerphone.
So basically, then he asked me about the briefcases. I told him I had them. So I tried to get 20 grand out of him to send the briefcases. So I had money to live, 20 grand US. And he's like, could you give us proof? I'll send you the 20 grand, but could you show me, is there any way you could send one of them or something? And I'm like, no, you give me 20,000, you go on my word, you trust me, make out a check to this guy's name, and I'm going to send you, I'll send you the briefcases any way you want. I'll put them on a Greyhound, I don't care, like however you want to do it, I'll send them, you know? I need 20 grand because I gotta fuck off, you know what I mean?
Raphael kept saying he had the briefcases whenever Jerry Heller would call, and he used it as a bargaining tool. He did it strategically. So Jerry Heller, and unbeknownst to Raphael, the FBI, it looks like they simply believed that he had the briefcases.
I did not have the briefcases. And it's been an urban legend that they're in Canada forever. You know, like you'll go on YouTube and some guy's like, we got to get a metal detector and search Canada, like Canada's this big, you know what I mean?
And while Raphael was in the apartment, smoking weed, drinking root beer, messing around on the phone, getting money, living it up, the FBI was actually getting ready to descend on the apartment in Ottawa. One page in the investigation actually lays out a plan of action for this. It reads,
Send lead to Legat, Ottawa, to contact landlord for above business address to obtain possible whereabouts of Redacted.
By the way, Legat, Ottawa is a small Canadian FBI office. They have them all around the world, and I'm going to go on a limb and guess they are not for situations like this. This talk from the FBI about business addresses, they refer to Raphael and his phone a few times this way, as a business. To me, this signifies that they viewed what he was doing as being like way more sophisticated than it actually was. I don't think they understood that he was a kid on a couch. If you read through these FBI files, it tells a story, one where they sized Raphael up and progressively became more and more convinced of his legitimacy. They became convinced that he had the titanium briefcases and that someone, maybe Tamika Woods, maybe someone else, had authorized him to open up Ruthless Records in Canada. This phone hacking technique Raphael figured out when he was in elementary school. It had outsmarted the FBI. Back at the apartment, the calls kept coming in from Jerry Heller with the FBI on the line and Tamika Woods.
So she actually called me, Tamika Woods. And she said, who the hell authorized you to open up? And she was yelling. And I said, I didn't know what to say. I'm fucking 19 years old. I'm like, Jerry Heller. He hung up the phone pissed. She was not a happy person. You know what I mean? She hung up mad. You know, like, what the fuck's going on? I'm just pitting both people that are already in a court battle against each other.
Just to recap here, when Tamika Woods would call and ask who told them to open up in Canada, Raphael would say it was Jerry Heller. Then when Jerry Heller would call, he would say it was Tamika. And they weren't talking to each other outside of court. So Raphael was one of the few sources of information they had. They took the bait and got even angrier at each other. Meanwhile, these calls from Jerry and Tamika, as good as Raphael was at handling them, he just found them annoying.
My whole thing was basically to deflect these guys. Like, I just wanted to keep answering the fucking phone and getting money from the people that I was getting money from. These guys were actually a burden to me, calling me, like Tamika or Jerry Howler, because I didn't even want to talk to any of these motherfuckers. I wanted to continue just grabbing money from people. That's where we were making money.
By the way, Tamika Woods did not respond to her interview request for the story. Anyways, the phone kept ringing.
But it went on for like 4 months. You know what I mean? 3 months or something like that. It went on for a while. I don't remember exactly how long, but it felt like forever, you know?
Until one day.
All the calls stopped. And then at like 2 in the morning when I called Ruthless Records number, it was back to the regular machine.
At this point, what happened was the judge had sorted out who was going to run Ruthless Records. It was handed over to Eazy-E's widow, Tamika Woods. So under Tamika's care, the doors to the building opened back up, and it looks like the first thing they did was change back the voicemail message.
It was like, fuck, it's all over. You know what I mean? It was like a good ride, but yeah, you know, the roller coaster eventually fucking stops. You got to get off.
So the phone stopped ringing. That was it for Raphael. But you might be wondering what happened with the FBI's investigation. Well, you can see it's around this time when other issues started to pop up for the agency. For example, there was a question about whether Eazy-E's death was suspicious. Threats he was apparently getting up until the time of his death, and not long after the murder of Tupac Shakur. Simply put, the FBI had way bigger fish to fry. So there's actually a page in the FBI file that explains this pretty concretely. Near the end of that summer, FBI agent Charlie Parsons contacted the district attorney, and it says he was advised by the DA that the FBI would not pursue the matter of the missing briefcases or the alleged stolen record company to Canada any further. In writing, the DA declined to prosecute. Raphael didn't know this until way later in life, until he found the FBI files online. But at this point, he was off the hook.
You know, nobody got arrested. Nothing bad happened. So I was kind of happy about all that. Like, you know, there was no repercussion from it.
"30 years later, it's probably safe to say he got away with it. Which is totally nuts, right? Raphael had absolutely no idea the FBI was ever even looking at him. Years later, not until 2015 actually, Raphael was poking around on the internet one night, and he found the FBI file.
Dude, it was tingles. I was like, I had my hair on my arm was standing up because it's talking about me. It's talking about a time that I buried. And it's word for word bringing me back to like this convo with Jerry Heller, which is really fucking cool, man, because now I really understand who Jerry Heller is. When I was talking to Jerry Heller, I thought I was talking to Jerry Heller. That was it. I didn't think the phones were tapped and everything. And you know how close we came to getting probably the door kicked out by RCMP. So yeah, it was surreal reading it. It was like, wow, the FBI was on me, right on top of us, like watching everything we're doing. We would have been arrested. We'd have been probably in the newspapers, you know, high school students rip off Ruthless Records. Imagine that, like the Ottawa Sun or something. I would have framed that page, you know, that would have been like my trophy, my little award, like a Pulitzer Prize.
But Raphael did actually save some souvenirs from this time.
Tapes of like from KENDRICK, LAMMAR, like Little Kenny, we call him, singing, rapping, pictures, letters from different various people, maybe thousands of different people. I remember putting all his stuff with all the rest of the people's stuff in this box that I had in my room in the closet, my mom's. All the pictures, all the different audio tapes of people's stuff.
Every now and then, he would visit his childhood home and check out the storage bins, sort of reminisce a bit. That was until one day when the boxes were gone.
It eventually got thrown out when I moved out and I left everything in my old room closet. My mom, I guess, the old Lebanese woman. This lady had a whole holster with 2 dustbusters, you know, and she was one of those like OCD, you know, people. So all my stuff got thrown out. It sucks. That stuff is like worth money now, you know, like how much would that be worth? Young Kenny, freaking, I never knew he was gonna blow up like that. I had no idea, like this kid's gonna be somebody, you know what I mean? All that went into the garbage.
It's disappointing that all this stuff is gone. It really is. But in a way, it seems kind of right. The Raphael now, he's such a different guy. he's evolved, he's matured, and he looks back on this chapter for what it was. Like, it was brazen, it was cool, but ultimately it's something he feels bad about.
I felt like a bag of shit, bro, because I like being in that position of like power. Yeah, you really, like, I don't know, it's stupid as hell, but like, you really felt like you were some executive of this record company. You know what I mean? Because we were playing that character for like months, you know what I mean? So, and it was cool as hell, like just having all these people calling you, like all these different rappers and singers, and really cool time. The older me apologizes. It was a different time. Consequences weren't so. I got family with kids, and you know my life's different now, right? So I'm not that 18-year-old, not even a shadow of them, you know.
And what I find most remarkable is just how many things in the story could have gone so wrong for him, but they went right every time. He got off scot-free, and I don't think he would have in any other universe.
I bounced off Jerry Heller. I bounced off Tamika Woods. I answered LA Times reporters. I talked to people that were owed money. There was nothing that was getting in my way of getting money from these guys. It was an unbelievable feeling. It was just like you felt powerful. That's the best way to describe it. Nothing could touch me at the time. I was bulletproof.
Today's episode was written and reported by Julian Abraham, who first learned about this story in a Substack post by Ben Westhoff. Our senior producer is Bruce Thorson. Audio production and editing from Caleb Thompson. Today's episode was fact-checked by Max Collins, who is also Canadaland's director of audio. I am the editor and publisher of Canadaland. Our theme music is by So Called. Our additional music today was produced by Julian Abraham. Syndication is handled by CFUV 101.9 FM in Victoria. Visit them online at cfuv.ca. You can listen to Canadaland ad-free on Amazon Music, which is included with Prime. That's your Canadaland. I hope you enjoyed it. You can email me about what you heard at jesse@canadaland.com.